Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am Kiran Murali. I welcome you to this press conference hosted by Press Information Bureau (MIB) at the 56th edition of International Film Festival of India. Before we proceed, let me remind that this event is being live streamed on PIB's YouTube channel. Also, we request you to switch off your devices or keep them on silent. Thank you. We have with us today the team of movie Pescador. From Team Pescador, we have Harry, the director, writer, and co-producer. Also Annie, the producer of the movie, and Isaac, the producer and cinematographer. So let me give a small synopsis about the movie. The movie is about the entanglement of lives of three persons, the three lead characters. A young scientist who is in search for a mystical fish in the dense forest of Costa Rica. After a desperate act, she falls asleep on a bus and the movie starts over. Then we are shown a fisherman, and the fisherman is awarded with a wish by a magical lobster. Seems interesting. And the wish is fatherhood. The fisherman finds the brother of the scientist, and that person is lost in the sea. So he takes care of the brother and nurses him. Also, teaches him the ways of the community. Initially, a little hesitant, but later the brother adapts to the community and he becomes part of the community. Also, the movie asked to us, what do you sacrifice for isolation? What do you risk in vulnerability and connection? So let's now have the trailer of the movie, please.
So, why are you in Costa Rica?
I haven't seen my brother in over 5 years. I don't think about him anymore, at all. But that night I had a dream. We were looking for fish.
Don't you study fish?
I do. As a hobby?
He could breathe. I couldn't.
It's a creature, a folktale creature.
Pescador, soy yo quien habla. Contemplo que estéis muy solitario. Deseáis un hijo. Si no muestra vuestro hijo, pagáis un terrible precio.
Mi hijo.
Suélteme, por favor.
Deduzco que no habéis olvidado el juramento que hicisteis.
Turn the fucking car around now and drive me to Venado.
The madness can be caused only by the creature.
I'm looking for a fish. You've seen traces of this fish?
Hicisteis un juramento como padre.
Once upon a time, there was a lonely fisherman who only wanted a son.
I see the film takes us through the dense forest of Costa Rica and the open seas. I'm sure the journey of making it was as adventurous as that. So we are excited to hear the stories today. I now request director Harry to speak on his vision about the movie. Yes, please, Harry.
Oh, there we go. Hello. The movie was inspired by kind of experiences that I had from being in a coma a few years ago. I was in a medically induced coma, and during that time in the coma, I had visions in my dreams of the ocean, and I kind of wanted to explore something about the ocean, something about the sea, and kind of explore why I may have been drawn to the sea during my time in a coma, and also kind of the feelings of isolation that you feel when you're recovering from a very serious medical incident. I mean, both of the two American characters in the film are experiencing very extreme isolation. They're both kind of in a country they're not familiar with. And um, so, yeah, that's it's a very personal film in that regard. It's kind of like that's about how it can be very difficult to connect with other people, and especially in times of crisis. And yeah, and in terms of making the movie, you brought up the movie was shot on the ocean and in the jungle. It's every single filmmaker in history has said, don't shoot on boats. And I didn't listen and I did it anyway. And now I understand why every single filmmaker says don't shoot on boats. It's difficult to shoot on boats, and we spent a lot of time on the boats. Um, but I'm glad we did it because it's. I think the film has some very beautiful images in it, and I think it gives an authenticity. We shot on actual fishermen's boats in Costa Rica, and the gentleman who plays the fisherman in the film is an actual fisherman that we met in Costa Rica and who had never acted before and was willing to take a chance on us, which was a very interesting and unique experience to work with somebody who had never acted before. But I think it brought an authenticity to the character of the fisherman, and I kind of took his lead a lot when it came to how things actually operate and function on a fishing boat and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we can understand the closeness you have to
Mhm.
the film. Yes, great to hear that. And now from producer like Annie, you share the journey with his life also. So your insights.
Absolutely. So yes, I do. I share the journey of his life because we are also married. Um, what I really want to say about this film, I mean, there's so much I want to say. I love this film. I love the people who made this film. I think it's extraordinary. Um, and I want to emphasize what an international collaboration this was. Our crew was half people from the US and half people from Costa Rica and from Latin America in general, but mostly Costa Rica, including our producer, Jimena Cortez Ramirez, who I wish could be here with us as well. It was really an international collaboration. You know, we all lived together, we all worked together. We had two languages going at all times. And we made extraordinary friends in Costa Rica, and we really embedded pretty deeply in the incredible fishing village of Tarcolis. And it was just, the most unique experience of my life, and to be welcomed and supported in such a beautiful culture just meant the world to us.
Great to hear that your story. Now behind these beautiful visuals, we have the cinematographer with us. So few words on your experience.
Well, for one, thank you all very much for having us. This is such an incredible honor being here, really. In regards to the visuals behind the film, Harry and I collaborated, I think, very much from a story perspective in regards to trying to communicate a lot of the feelings that are in the script. And for that reason, and I hope all of you have the opportunity to see the film, there are two different visual approaches in the film for both characters. And I think it's very telling. You can feel that very significantly in the film. And I think that was a huge part of the creative approach towards it. So yeah.
Sometimes we get too much in that thing. We can't find words to explain that experience. I can feel that. So, but we'd like to hear more through questions. I think we'll get answers for that.
Sure. Thanks.
Okay. So now I open the floor for questions from audience. You can discuss.
You're the writer and the director.
Yes.
And you had a real story, medical induced coma, and the real story that is the dreams of ocean. So how easy or difficult was it to balance the two into a narrative, into the script?
How difficult was it to balance the kind of the story of the dreams and the kind of the reality of what the movie is? I mean, I think that it always has to be about the characters. So I think that like the characters lead the way when it comes to balancing those kinds of things. I think that like, I think also like inspiration I think is like a building block in a way. So like, when I say the film was inspired by dreams I had during a coma, it then kind of, it doesn't all come into place at once, so it like builds on itself kind of slowly as, you write the script. And then when you have a certain idea in mind, it kind of like, it locks into place, and then you can't move too far away from kind of like, well, these are who the characters are, so these are the things that they would be doing. So they guide you in a way. And it just becomes almost like kind of practical. Like, well, what would they be doing next? Well, they'd be doing next because this is who that person is. And I think if you're honest with yourself about who the characters are, it leads you in a way. And it's intuitive almost. It's hard to like explain in a way. I think it's intuitive in that like I just know who these people are, so they have to be doing this, and then they have to be doing that, and they have to be doing that. And I think if you don't know who the characters are, and if you're kind of basing it off like, well, I'd like them to be doing that, then you're going in the wrong direction. They have to tell you what they're doing and how that balance works.
And I also think there's a real theme of intuition here. Harry had these visions, these dreams, and followed them just as a character in the film. She says at one point, someone asks her about her research and whether she went to school for this, or like, is she a scientist? And she says it's research based on intuition. And watching Harry create this film has just been about him having these gut feelings, this inner knowledge, and just following it, just like this character does.
I asked the question to cinematographer, please. Actually, the cinematography of the movie is mostly focused on the nature part, like sea, jungle, isolation. So, what do you think initially, in which way you have decided to make this? The influence of the movie after seeing this in the same way, or not in the way in which way you have decided to make storytelling of this?
Absolutely. I think going back just a little bit, I really am driven by the characters and the story and what's trying to be told. And so I think when we are focusing on the young woman character, where we are trying to place her in a backdrop where she doesn't belong, I think a through line of the work that I'm doing and the work that Harry and I are doing together is thinking about what the comparison is of what these images are. And it was important for us to kind of place this American white woman in an environment where she wasn't necessarily 100%. That's not her native space. That's not her environment. And so a lot of the motivation regards of being in the jungle or being in the sea is, placing people in environments where they don't necessarily belong. And, we can't drink the water out of the ocean. I'm not sure we should be living in the ocean. And I think it's that sort of comparison as well that we are trying to present.
Yeah, good morning to the team of this film. What is the reason to select the Costa Rica as a country to shoot? It was a co-production between the US and Costa Rica. And you said is all your memories under coma. How big the viability commercial angle of this film will go? Does it recover your money?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the second question.
How commercial viability of this film? How you
Okay.
may recover your money as a director and as a producer?
I sorry.
You can.
I think there's a very real reality where this is an art house avant-garde film. This exists within an experimental world, and there is an audience for this. These audiences do exist, but I think for direct commercial viability, it probably doesn't represent something that is going to be at the top of the list. And in regards to recouping our money, we are still very open to finding an active distributor and a sales agent. So maybe that's an indicator.
Costa Rica started as a kind of I mean, in addition to images of the ocean, I was really drawn to images of the jungle, and kind of we were like thinking about different countries in Latin and Central America that we could set the film in. But Costa Rica is really interesting because it's a country that's kind of like very, very quickly gentrifying. And so I think that like in certain areas of the country, there are communities that are being very rapidly displaced. When we were in Costa Rica, I was very trying to find the right word. Not alarmed, but it was very surprising to see just how intense the gentrification was in certain areas of the country. And I think that that kind of like reflects what the themes of the film are, and that these are two Americans who are kind of like entering spaces that don't really belong to them and are kind of like not being very thoughtful about their interactions in those spaces. And I think that that's very reflective of a lot of the experiences that I've seen and heard from Costa Ricans, where people kind of come into communities from other countries, buy up property, and kind of kick locals out of their homes. And I think that even though the movie isn't like